Well, it is that time again, everybody. Hope you are doing well. My name is BirdDog John, and I am back in action.
In those scenarios, it's good to neuralize the cameras. You guys know that best.
Very straightforward. Plug it in, go to the web UI, link the source, walk away. You know, like super simple. I keep looking over at the chat, and I keep seeing you are full of it. Tasty, spicy meat snacks. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. So what's going on? We've got a handful of folks here in the chat, and I really appreciate that. What's up, mate? Hey, Warren, how are you? Appreciate it. Hey, Robbie, how's it going, man? We were just talking about you. What's going on, Tom? Ahoy. How is it going? What's going on, Go Web? Good to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us again today. Appreciate that. Feel like I'm in this video more than anyone but John. It's true, NetApp. You are, I'm going to cut this up and put this in the next intro. What's going on, everybody? I am indeed BirdDog John. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate that. I'm going to check my audio because you never know these days. Okay, sounds fine on YouTube, so on my phone. So let's hope that it sounds all right for you. One of my cameras is not working. The P4K seems to be offline, and full disclosure, had a kind of a disheveled morning, so it's been very busy and responding to lots of things this morning, trying to walk through various support-related things. Oh, and I just realized one of my lights is off. So let's fix that right now. Okay, not that that probably provides a ton of light, but it definitely changes the shadows on one side of my face. So also, I have the Telscript up here this morning, but we're getting drop frames on that again. So I don't know what the story is there, but it's not dropping frames on any of my other sources. Like Inside vMix is fine. Inside Studio Monitor was fine, but I've tried to restart the actual Telscript teleprompter just to see if maybe that was it. So I'm going to actually do like a full-on reboot because it may have come up prior to everything being ready, and I want to be sure that that is working. And the other piece that is not functional is, for some reason, my P4K is not on, and I was pretty sure I set that up on a schedule to turn on, and maybe I never actually turned it on, never turned on the schedule. So power over Ethernet schedule, it says it's active. The camera's not on. So I'm not sure what's happening there. Let's go to channel 5, which is the one that it's supposed to be, and turn it on. And I'm hearing the fans turn on. Let me see if the lights turn on. That'll be the next question, right? So there's power. I'll refresh the interface, see if it comes online. This is very strange. P4K. She doesn't show up in Studio Monitor or anything, so I'm not sure what the deal is there. Maybe I'm hearing the whining engines of the rest of... Okay, so to change the power settings, you go to the audio interface on the Netgear switch, right? You select the ports you want, you turn it on, you hit apply, and then you need to save it for some reason, from what I can tell. And then when I hit enter, it should turn that port on. However, this is interesting. I wonder if this schedule is screwing with... I bet you it is. I bet you this thing is like... Let's delete the schedule and see what happens. Oh. So evidently I don't know what I'm doing with the 4250s. You shouldn't trust anything that comes out of my mouth because I don't know. Famous last words. So P4K is powering up. That's fun. That's always fun. So I'll let you guys know when that guy comes online, but he is doing the dance. So yeah, we'll go with that. Let me jump over to my other machine that's running the chat. And I'll throw up my little QR code here. It is now open and accepting responses. So if you want to let me know where you're from, feel free to throw a pin on the map, and that, I believe, is this screen. So yeah, we don't have anybody that checks in north of Alaska, so I think we'll be pretty safe there. But if somebody does, I'll be sure to move my image. But we got that all going there. So what's going on, Mr. Gonzalez? Hello from Miami. Hello. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by and checking in on the show over on LinkedIn. I appreciate that. A mysterious Facebook user has a lengthy question to ask, so let's work through this question on daisy chaining 232 controls to cameras. Why? Why are you still using 232? Come to this side of the century. I've wired it in using the dongles that are provided in the box with the camera. I've been unable to get it to work. If I wire one camera directly to the controller, it works fine. As soon as I use the dongle, it stops working. Is the pin configuration different for this? Well, there are multiple dongles. What are you referring to? Are you talking about the ones that come in the box for the cameras or the one for the keyboard? What is the keyboard that you're using to control it? There are a lot of questions here. Is the pin configuration different? In short, yes. For every camera brand, so like the P100 series and 200, I believe, is different, if I'm not mistaken. And then it's different again for the 400. I'm using a standard Ethernet cable. Should I be using something different? No, I believe that should work, but I do know that there's an issue with VISCA addressing. So this is VISCA serial control is what 232 and 422 is. And the last time I checked, I believe that you can't change the VISCA address on the cameras. Don't quote me on this. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're all set to VISCA 1, and that can't be changed. But the 232 control is also, it is a specific pinout, and those are available in each of the manuals for each of the cameras. And so you'll have to go receive to transmit and transmit to receive, ground, negative, ground to ground in 232. So I believe with 232, it's just RX and TX, right? So then RX and TX need to cross so that the transmit is connected to the receive side and the receive is connected to the transmit side. And then the pinout is specific to the camera. So pull up the manual and make sure that you're pinning out correctly. I believe that there's a diagram on how to do that, but I'm not 100% sure. I have never done it in this office, done a daisy chain on 232, because you have an NDI camera, you should control it with NDI. But depending on what it is that you're using to control it with, BirdDog keyboard and a P200. Why are you doing 232 on a BirdDog keyboard with a P200? These are NDI devices. Use NDI. It's not an option for us in this particular setup. NDI is not an option, but 232 is? Man, that's bizarre. Okay, well, anyways, besides why or why not, I'm so sorry. That sounds like a nightmare is what it sounds like. If you're using full NDI cameras and devices, but you can't use them. That's like the thing it does, right? It's like buying running shoes and not having legs. The keyboard, yes. So the 232 port on the keyboard is different than the one on the camera. So you'll have to create a cross cable for that. You could use the little box that comes with the keyboard, and then you should use the little box when it comes to the keyboard for the 232 stuff, because it will, I believe on that little, secondary box that it comes with, it will allow you to do Ethernet from 232 into the little box, and then it pins out, gives you the options for the pins, and then you make your cross cable for the Ethernet cable. So you would need to go in to the camera via Ethernet jack, but then the pinout cable, you have to split that out and put those in the little green Phoenix connector that's on that box. So yeah, it's not pretty. It's not pretty, that's for sure. You can't just go Ethernet to Ethernet to Ethernet. You can't just do that. You have to do an actual cross, like a pinout cable, and go into the specific pins. So I have seen that little box work. So we can go out of the keyboard into the little box via Ethernet jack from 232 to the port on that little secondary box. But then you have to create a pinout cable, a custom cable to go then into the 200. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. 232 and 422 are standards for many years, but it's there's a reason why we're trying to push everything NDI, because it's a nightmare to get it all perfect. So, but you will definitely need a specific pinout cable for that. Now, in theory, you could go multiple custom cables into the Phoenix connector. I don't know if this is true, and control all the cameras simultaneously. But I don't believe that there's a way to set the Visca addressing differently on the cameras. I think it's all Visca 1, if I'm not mistaken. And I'll have to verify that, but I think that's a known limitation of the cameras. So there you go. That's not the fun and exciting news, but that I believe is the truth. So that's what you get here at the show. Okay, so some people are checking in, and really appreciate that. So thanks, everybody. Looks like we got a handful of people over here in the Northeast of the United States, and then my friend in Perth. So that's always fun. I like this full screen. There it is, Perth. Who else we got? This is going to be, Bridgeton, Maine. Oh, that's cool. Princeton, New Jersey, and Cleveland. Nobody from Detroit. That's strange. So my brain is a little foggy. Full confession. My brain is a little bit foggy this morning. It has been for a couple of days, mostly because I was away this weekend. That was a very fast trip to and from Nashville. But, yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind trying to get everything, trying to keep all the, like all the baskets and the plates spinning. It's been quite a whirlwind to do that. So, okay, and my P4K did finally show up here. Not finally, I just am seeing it now for the first time. So there's that P4K hanging out over in the crow's nest. Good stuff. And I can actually turn the playlist on now. I did add a camera to our general NDI infrastructure, and it is the PF120, which we are now using as basically a lobby camera, because we moved Ryan, our basically like front desk shipping, receiving, office administrator, we moved him out of the lobby because nobody wants to work in the lobby. Nobody would like to work in a non-office space. So we moved him and put him in the lobby, and now he is, let me try and get this to, okay, there we go, I think. Boy, that does not look right. Something's up with the PF120. It's almost like it's stuck in manual focus, but anyways. But yeah, so our little tiny lobby here in the office is now brought into the show. And we actually have that camera up in our offices so we can see it, like when UPS walks in the door. Because we don't have somebody physically sitting in the lobby. Now we have like kind of like a little webcam that, it's not a webcam, it's a PF120. And it's a full NDI stream. So there you go. There's a good use case for having eyes on a space that you otherwise don't have eyes on. So, good stuff. What's going on, Angus? Good morning. I can't stick around today. I'm streaming a bilingual press conference with remote interpreters. Ooh, that's fun. Well, good luck with that. Enjoy your remote interpreter show. And that's great. Thanks for stopping by anyways. Always count on you to swing on through here. So, all right. Oh, and that's the 110, P110, which is just up on the windowsill here next to me. And that's been a shot that's been around for quite a while now, but good stuff there. And the playlist is functional, so that's great. I will check my audio again. I haven't had any complaints about audio yet, so. All right, yep. So audio is happening. And a few more people have checked in online. It looks like we've got somebody over in Quebec, someone from New Orleans, so that's fun. Those are some cities we haven't seen in a little while, so that's nice to have you guys hanging out. I can throw this up here for a minute just so you can see it. But Yeah, that's what that QR code is for, everybody. If you'd like to check in, let me know where you're at. You can definitely do that. So, LinkedIn user says hello. Hello, LinkedIn user. Freddie, what's going on? Hey there from South Africa. What's going on? How are you, Freddie? Thanks for checking in from South Africa. That's cool. Always a pleasure to see where guys are checking in from. So, really cool that you're hanging out with us. And Albert, of course, good morning from New Orleans. What's going on, Albert? Good to see you again. Thanks for coming along for the ride. This just refreshed, but I don't see a new bubble anywhere. So we'll wait for that to come through. I could look at behind the scenes and see who's around. So yeah, how's everybody doing? It's been a busy weekend for me. I was, like I said, I was down in Nashville working with a congregation that was doing some streaming down there, and that's been a lot of fun to kind of play around with stuff. Their production guy was there who regularly runs their stream this time. Normally I go down to fill in for him, and this time I went down and he was there, and so we were able to really like dig a bit and work into some progress in terms of making things look a little nicer. They've invested in some they had DSLRs with like really big Canon lenses on them, and so more so than just the PTZ realm that I run in, but specifically for low f-stop and for getting that kind of out of focus background and all of that. So it's been fun to kind of figure out coloration for that style of camera, but it also posed a problem because we were working with it all day Saturday, two identical cameras, two identical lenses, and we're getting different color balances. In particular, it's the body of the camera that's giving us a different color because we swapped the lenses and it was fine. It was the same. And we swapped out all the cabling and it remained the same. And so we kind of eliminated all the things that could be. And we've come down to, we think it's their second camera body that's behaving odd. So the next step, I think, is to check for firmware updates and to make sure that it's running the latest kind of processing. But they're both identical. Both cameras are the same. So the fact that we were having, it was actually high contrast is what it looks like. And the fact that they're both different is a little bit odd. So what we ended up doing is we had a standard, the camera one shot was the one that we were balancing to. And then, we were manipulating camera two to get it as close as we could to camera one, which is, you kind of have to do. They're not sitting next to each other. They're looking at the same subject, but they're, in different locations. And so the general rule of thumb is, yes, you have the same cameras, but they're in different locations, meaning that they're going to see light differently. And so you have to expect some difference, but this was like a significant contrast issue. And when we would manipulate the contrast, it didn't really appear to do much. So could be anything from firmware to a faulty camera to, I don't know, something's going on. But we definitely went after it for quite a while and tried to figure out what it could be. Oh, good stuff. I do have my coffee today in my Ember mug. So somebody made coffee in the lobby and I took some. But it tastes pretty good. It's a good way to start the morning. We forgot to make coffee. Like, we usually set it at night, and then my wife was walking out the door and she's like, "Oh no, there's no coffee." So then she said, "Okay, well, they have a coffee machine at work, so I'm going to make coffee at work." And then I was leaving and I was like, "Oh no, I also forgot to make coffee." So I stopped and bought coffee this morning, and then somebody made coffee. So this is now cups basically 3 and 4. No, this is cup 3. I had 1 and 2 in the truck on the way here. So good stuff. I've also got, so I need to send this out there, I guess, is please give our support team a little bit of grace this week. One of our guys is out working on a project for BirdDog in Florida. So you remember back in February, I flew to Orlando and did a project at the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center. And so they are now back there again, doing some other fixes for that installation. And so we're down one guy. In addition, the guy that normally is my office administrator that used to sit in the lobby, he has also been sick for a couple of days. And so we're a little bit down in terms of people. And we're not running at full strength right now. So good stuff. Facebook user says, I'm still impatiently waiting for an X120 shipping date. And yes, I understand that it's nothing to do with this stream and that you have no control over it, but hopefully someone will see this and be willing to give us an update. I'm pretty sure that you will not get an update until it's ready to roll. So that camera is obviously the latest camera that we've announced. And the camera engineers have been working on that since, well, for quite a while now, but they're hashing out all of that stuff. So yes, this show, I can't tell you because I actually don't know when that date will be. But if they update I suspect the next time they update the launch date of the X120, they'll be extremely close to doing it because they don't want to say anything until they are extremely close. So I suspect that is probably a safe thing to assume. But no update over the past week. Now, I could see if we've made any kind of significant progress, and I could try and distill that down to something I'm allowed to share, which is probably not much. But yes, one of the places you could ask, well, no, you know what? Let's just ask here. Just see what we have going on. X120. Where are we here? Okay. Do we have a Gantt chart for this? No, we don't. Bummer. Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, it is really close to the finish line. If I were to, it's very close to the finish line from what I can see. Yeah. It looks like it has entered the final rounds of things, but again, they can discover stuff in this phase, and so that's no guarantee that it's around the corner. But it looks like in terms of status of where it's at, it looks like it's kind of in the final realm of QA and checking and everything. So that's as specific as I can be. I could promise you they're working like crazy to get it out because they're just as excited about it as you are. But I can't tell you next Tuesday at 10 because that's not true. I don't know that to be true. So I appreciate you patiently or not waiting for the X120 shipping date. Hopefully someone will see it and somebody with more knowledge than me will be able to share with you what the deal is. But what would you suggest as the best affordable 4-camera setup for churches? 4-camera setups. Well, currently you can get an amazing steal on the P200. I like the P200 as one of the nicest 1080p 60 streaming rigs that you can buy. And they're extremely inexpensive right now. So that's a great way to go and get into the full NDI realm and do that. But I would strongly suggest that you avoid the pitfalls of OBS and go with something like a vMix or a hardware encoder like a Telestream Wirecast device, or I mean, if money's no object, you go with a TriCast or even a Mini. I will say that I have been using a Stream Dudes computer for about a week. It's a rack-mounted chassis computer, and although the CPU fan is kind of like it winds up and down as you use it, it runs vMix. Stream Dudes basically makes vMix rack-mounted machines, and it's so far great. Like, it's been really good. Now, it's running Windows 11, which means that some of the stats are wrong. Like it says that in vMix, it says there's no CPU usage and no GPU usage. But then if you open the GPU inside, if you open the GPU, it says that it's in there. It's like an NVIDIA card, and it says it's being utilized at 100%. And so I know that's not true because my computer would be frozen if that was the case. But I can definitely hear it running. But anyways, I'm going to try and figure out a way to get one or more stream dudes to join me and we can actually talk about this device. I'm using it, and yeah, I'd love to kind of talk about their business model and give them some exposure and walk through some of that. So personally, if I'm looking for a church, if I want to get a church online or I want to elevate their camera experience, this is such a huge question because what style of production are you going for? Are you going for like fly on the wall? Are you doing like a hybrid style where you have some guys with cameras like on rigs and you've got just some PTZs as optional shots? Is the PTZ the only thing that you're going to use? Does it need to be very hands off? Does it need to be remote access? Does it need to be automated? Does it need to have control where you have cameras following objects on stage on their own? Like, there's a lot of things to ask. And what sort of look do you want? Because before I start talking about you should get the 200, I really should say, yeah, what style of production are you going for? And this is always one of those funny questions to ask church people because you have to speak to them in production terms, but they're thinking of it with like a ministry lens. Fair enough. And they either want to get their message online or they want to make it more engaging or they want to use it for archival purposes or they want to have the option to stream weddings and funerals or whatever. So being a little more specific about what it is that you want to do with the stream will be helpful because it'll also tell you what style of lenses you need, what style of cameras you need. I'm not shy from integrating DSLRs with huge lenses because it works and it provides a specific look. Whereas, PTZs are very handy if you have very few volunteers and you need to remote control everything. I can remote into Melbourne and control their cameras and call presets pretty quickly. So, technically I could help run a production from here over there if I needed to. But it really depends on what style you're going for, how deep is your volunteer base or your church staff base who can help with something like this. But if you're looking for affordability, plan to budget for full retail value cameras that are like $3,000 a piece. Right now, I think the P200 is like $1,200 or something like that. So get 4 of those and then spend the rest on your network. Buy real network switches. We had somebody submit something to the help desk. I don't know who it was because an agent just mentioned it on their way by, but talked about using like a Nighthawk router or an Obi Netgear wireless routing system to govern the cameras. Like avoid the all-in-one situations. Churches, you need to hear this, guys. If you are involved in a church, even if you're not on the streaming world, but you have a stream at your congregation, please stop with the all-in-one router switch combos. Stop. Please don't do that. Don't because you're just going to end in with like endless problems. The router switch things will probably be sufficient to run your DHCP layer 3 of your switch of your network. But you really need to invest in a real switch with like real processing power. Spend some money there and you'll get much better performance. You'll be much less frustrated. You have to open way less tickets to get everything working as advertised. So be sure that you invest in the cameras, high quality cameras. If I were to pick between the P100 and the P200, I'd go with the 200 because I got a bigger optical lens. I have a bigger sensor, period, and I can do more with the coloration. If money's no object and you're on the fence between a 200 240, I would look at the 240. I genuinely think it's a better image. than the 200, and that's me critiquing my own fleet of cameras. They both look great. This is a 200. The camera that you're looking at is a P200 running in a teleprompter. Okay, now it's a 110, but you can definitely see the differences between these two shots, right? Like that's a 110, which is a 100 series lens, and this is a 200, and so you can see the differences between them. Again, if you're on the fence between a 240 and a 200, go with a 240 because it's a nicer lens. It's got a bigger sensor in it. But if you're on the fence between a 240 and a P4K, and again, money is no object, you wouldn't be on the fence if money was an object. You wouldn't be on the fence between those two cameras. So if money's no object, but you're on the fence between those two, the 4K sensor is going to have a much different image than the P240 and the P200, and you're going to have more control. And that is, what camera is that? Sorry, I got to get back into vMix. So this is that 240 or that P4K over the P200, which is this camera. So, you can keep stepping it up, and it really depends on budget. So when you say affordable, like if it's just like I want to get into the full NDI game, but I have no idea, like I have no money, well, the P100 is probably your smallest PTZ that you can get. Now, P110, 120, those are the next step up in that realm, but the sensors are not as nice as the 200 series or the 400 series. That's just the nature of paying for bigger sensors. The bigger the sensor, the better performance it'll have, even in like low light situations and whatever. Now, there are trade-offs with that too. The more sophisticated sensors, the more light is going to be required. And so don't buy a P4K and think I can run this with no upgrade to the lighting system. You're going to need good lighting in order to do that. So, tell me more about where you're camping out. Tell me more where it is that you're camping out, because budget wise and like what you want. Somebody said, ironically, the 110 image is cleaner to me than the 200. Do you mean my image? Because I would disagree. If you're looking at this image, so let's go to this one. And then I got to label these cameras. So between these two, I don't think this shot looks as good as this one, because this image has depth and it has contrast and it has black level control. This one doesn't really do that very well. It's still a nice image, but it doesn't do contrast as well as the 200 does, and it doesn't do depth. To me, this image looks very flat, whereas this image has dimension. So, and the elements are in this shot to have dimension, like the screen behind me or the microphone that's kind of in front of me. Like this should provide that sense of depth, but it just doesn't do it for me. It looks flat. And this one doesn't, So anyway, that's just my own 2 cents on that. But depending on how it is that you mean that, Facebook user. Not enough volunteers, and so we need to automate. Okay. If you are a one-man band, or you feel like a one-man band, the control that I would look into is invest in the best lens that you can get, but be sure you invest in your network infrastructure. Okay? Those things go hand in hand. If you want successful streams, you need to have adequate networking. And I get in a lot of trouble for this, all right? But I'm doing it to save you a lot of heartache. Invest in your network. It's important. It's very important that you invest in quality gear. And if you want to talk specifics, we can. But definitely invest in quality gear, because it will help you in the long run. For example, I'm running probably a half a dozen to maybe 8 sources in this office now that I've moved in here kind of permanently. I'm running a ton of sources on this network. I'm not dropping frames. The decoding devices are dropping frames, but the network itself is able to handle it no problem. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal, because I've got a 1 gig port on the back of the Stream Dudes machine that I'm running. Granted, it's a 2.5, but it maxes out at 1 gig at the switch. And I used to, on the little computer that I used to run vMix on, I used to have to run fiber connections, 2 gig fiber connections to get the same performance as this. And so the network has never been the problem for me. It's always been the entry point to the computer. And now I have a high quality machine and I'm connected a single gig over to there and I have no issues. So, and I'm running more sources. So riddle me that. How does that work? You know? Yeah. Well, there it is. So if you're running lower volunteers, then do yourself a favor, invest in the best lenses you can, but consider having a solid AV over IP network. Yes. Yeah, the complexity of the P200. Oh, what's going on, Senseless? Shot is much more realistic than the 110. I tend to agree. I just think maybe I need to try and balance this camera closer to the P1 or the P200, but I just don't. I've played with it for quite a while, and it looks good. The image looks fine, but I feel like this shot looks better. Anyways, whatever. To each his own. It's very subjective. It's a very subjective thing. Hey, John, by the way, thanks for your support. NDI network setting talks. Oh, you are very welcome. Thank you for saying something. That is always appreciated. What's the best preferred transmit receive for BirdDog? TCP, UDP, RUDP, multicast, NDI discovery server, and so on. And when should I use a specific one over the other? That is an amazing question. Really cool. Freddie says, thanks. Freddie, my pleasure. Thank you for checking in from South Africa. So cool. So cool. So let me go back to this question. This primarily depends on your network infrastructure and how many sources you're running. So, so TCP is kind of the default. All right, let's start there. TCP is the default for the delivery method that you would use in NDI, but it quickly becomes inefficient when you've got a half a dozen to a dozen sources, depending on their complexity. If you've got a half a dozen full NDI sources, you need to start thinking about your network infrastructure differently. Then, ideally, I would point you in the direction of a pre-configured multicast network. Now, switching companies like Netgear have the 4250 line, and they have pre-configured that multicast network to function out of the box standard according to the SDK. Okay, so there are some pre-configured things. They've taken that information from the SDK and integrated into their switch. So when you make a VLAN on a 4250 for your NDI network, it is TCP and multicast ready. If you choose a different brand and you want to use multicast, you're going to have to configure that thing yourself. All right? And you need to configure it before you switch over the devices, because if you start sending multicast packets and you don't have a multicast network, you're going to have problems. So I think the two major conversations are TCP and multicast. Now, you're going to find other people that say, well, multi-TCP, RUDP, those camps are also acceptable. Yes, but I think the majority of the customers are going to fall in the TCP conversation. 4 cameras and a keyboard on a network, probably TCP. Okay. But if you've got 20 cameras around your facility, or you've got multiple rooms or classrooms, or you've got a church that's running multiple things over NDI and they're all coming in these various ways, okay, well, then we're probably talking multicast pretty fast, right? And multicast leverages the brain power of the network to deliver the packets correctly. TCP relies on the path being established and then the packets leaving the NIC card on the camera and arriving at the destination intact. That's essentially what it is. So, and there's a confirmation. The problem with UDP is there's no confirmation. So TCP is pretty stable because it verifies and makes sure that things are working correctly. And then if it's not working correctly, there's a bit of the network has the ability to kind of help resolve some of that. Okay. It's used to helping figure that out. Because your network has brain power. If you're using a DHCP, you have the brains behind it. Discovery server, on the other hand, you threw that in there, so I'm going to say this. Discovery server is when you have a DHCP and it's inefficient, or it's a little bit older, but it's inefficient. Maybe it's managing a massive network. And so you'd use a discovery server to kind of fix some of that. Or discovery server is when you're running a static network and you don't have any brain power on the network. So you have very bad switches. And when I say bad, I mean anything that says unmanaged, smart managed, anything that is well, let's just leave it at those two for now. But switches that don't really have any brain power. And so they behave, I have seen unmanaged switches behave like hubs. And if you look back in the history of network product development, we stopped using the term hub. I mean, there are some out there still, but don't buy those. Whatever you're doing, don't buy those. But we did start using the term unmanaged and hub kind of interchangeably, because we came out with this smart managed thing where it's like, well, we do have onboard processing. We can go down lots of rabbit holes there. You do, but you don't. It's not really that. In order to classify as a managed switch, it has to hit certain benchmarks. And because you can hit certain benchmarks with it, it actually has processing power that we trust. Also because you can troubleshoot it. Managed switches you can troubleshoot. Unmanaged switches you can't. So, back to the TCP multicast conversation. Discovery server is when you absolutely have to, and you have no more resources to do a correct NDI network. And I get in trouble for saying that too, by the way. But you have limited resources, so you have to use managed switches in a static configuration. And hopefully you're doing that. You're configuring a static configuration because someone's pointing a gun at you and making you do that, and not on your own volition. Okay? Because if you have the luxury of setting up your own network and buying the pieces for it, do yourself a massive favor and watch my DHCP discussions about NDI. But if somebody's holding you at gunpoint and forcing you to set up a static AV over IP network for NDI, then use a discovery server so that somebody's trafficking the data. Essentially, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody cataloging the data on your network and then making that available to people who are asking who's available on the network, because the nature of NDI is it discovers sources when they're broadcasting. But if you are running a static network, the broadcasts eventually slow down and you start losing sources. And so it doesn't naturally show up as it should. Whereas a DHCP collects that information on its own and retains it. So anyways, lots of things to talk about there. But yeah, that's as I would recommend it. That's what I would do. Okay. So let's go up here and make sure. So TCP, if you're using just a few full sources, multicast if you're starting to get really serious about using a lot of NDI. Let's keep going here. I've read all of these. The boundaries on the of your arms on the frame of the 200 appears a little blurry, but all the boundaries appear sharp in the P110. My arms look blurry? I mean, you sure it's not my arm hair that's making them blurry? Doesn't the boundaries? I don't think the boundaries are blurry, personally. It shows that detail pretty sharp. It may be out of focus, but it's because the focal point is my face and not down by my arms, but not like, anyways, yeah, maybe, but I think that my arms look just as fuzzy down there, but I think it's because I have pretty thick arm hair and the green lights are shining off of it. But like that, well, I mean, maybe I'll back out and see if I can focus on something on the table and see what you're talking about here. P200. Oh, and this is running in low bandwidth, so it's all fuzzy. Turn that off. All right, if I back this out and we look at the table, like, you think that looks out of focus? I don't think that looks out of focus. Like, this is the X keys. That looks sharp. You know, like those cables. Those are nice and sharp. Yeah, personally, I prefer the 200 image over. Maybe because I'm too zoomed in. Maybe it needs to adjust the iris a little bit. Let's try this. Whoa, this motor is so fast today. Let's slow that down a bit. What? Come on. If only there was like a joystick device that I could use to finesse this a bit. But alas, I don't have one. Okay, back to the chat. Let me jump in there real quick. I am enjoying this coffee. Whoever made this today, bravo. It might be similar to how I dislike the saturated colors of OLED displays on smartphones and prefer the more muted tones of the iOS device. My device is the brighter, vibrant colors look more pleasing to most people. I would agree. First Sunday service at my main church with 3 new P200s keyboards, M4250 and NDI into vMix. vMix crashed twice during service. Any thoughts? vMix crashed twice? Do you have any idea why it crashed? Any indication as to what caused it to do that? Did a camera go offline by any chance? Because I've seen that happen, where if you randomly lose an NDI source, it just doesn't know what to do with it and basically throws a quit command. But it shouldn't have just dumped the whole thing. We fixed the issue with that though, the random vMix quitting when a full BirdDog camera goes offline. But yeah, that's weird. That should not obviously be happening. Before we get into the conversations about like what computer are you running it on, right? What version of vMix? Latest? I'm on the latest now. Like, since Stream Dude sent the machine, this is the latest machine, the latest version of vMix, and also Windows 11. So that's now my platform. I kind of like that in Windows 11. They tried to get you to use the center menu bar like an Apple machine, but they do give you the option to actually have a start menu. I don't care for in Windows 11. I don't care for the actual start like pop up thing. I think I don't like it, but here we are. You know, it is what it is. But it took me a really long time to get used to Windows 10 too, so maybe that's just all we have to do. CPU, memory, network, GPU stats, they all look good. Is the camera running version 99 by chance? Yes, 99. This is a known issue with 99. The fix is apply 94. Wasn't that you can find 94 here? And there's the update. Well, there you go. That's why we have Senseless on the show. Maybe Senseless should run the show from here on in. All votes for John to get demoted and to promote Senseless as the new on-air talent. Say aye. Was vMix 25 upgraded today to 26? Can I downgrade to 94? Yes, you can downgrade. The issue persists. Please open to take with us. We'll get this up and running. It's possibly the focus, and on the other hand, I will admit to being an absolutely beginner with this stuff, so it may just be my eyes. Also possible. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that riddle, but it doesn't. To me, the image doesn't look fuzzy. It looks a little dim on my screen, like compared to these shots, but I'm also used to having a P4K as the primary, so I'm not too concerned about that. Let's go to this Let's adjust the P200 just real quick. And let's see how that goes. Go here. The iris, I've moved things around. I don't know how much changing I've done of, come on. Okay. Cam control. And let's see the image. There it is. Exposure. We're just going to dial this a little bit brighter. I think that's better. Yeah, I feel like that's, iris just needed one. Downgrade is completely safe. Boom. Told you. Just so you have peace of mind, 94 and 99 are functionally identical in terms of feature set. 99 is a manufacturing firmware, and we didn't know about the vMix issue until the units were shipped. They aren't missing anything by going back to 94. Boom. There you go. Yeah. Technically, I mean, technically it's a downgrade, but it's not really. Let's see what we've got going on over in the on the map. Look at everybody checking in. Good stuff. Wasn't it? John, I will not be taking over the show. That's it. That's what you think. What you guys don't know is Senseless already does streaming stuff, and so he's just playing hard to get, but he could totally do this, and it'll be amazing. It'll be amazing what can happen if you start withholding money. So there you go. Happy to help. Thanks for watching the show, and same to you, Senseless. vMix, yeah, I don't know vMix to die, although I am running. Well, let's look at my P200. What have I got on here? Probably 9.4. I thought I kept it. Yep, 9.4, which is why I'm not seeing the issues you're seeing. So there's a great lesson, everybody. Always important to tell us what firmware you're running when you submit a ticket or ask a question, because then we can definitely give you a hand as to what might be going on. What's crazy is the agents here have this huge backlog of, oh, yeah, that was a problem with that one. Try this one, you know. And for the most part, a lot of tickets get responded to really fast. There are some tickets that take a long time to sort out, because especially if you find a new bug, then we've got to get it on the dev team's list to look into and figure out. But that's the nature of all things, right? Like anything that gets invented, which is everything, has to, you're not going to find absolutely everything, although you do your best to try. Yeah, it may take a little while to make sure that everything is subtle. And if 99 introduces an issue that we didn't know about with vMix, well, we will try and sort it out. Here's the solution in the meantime is 9.4. Unfortunately, 99 went to the factory, and so our guys, sounds like their MO is to tell everybody to put 9.4 on there for now. And yeah, good stuff. Awesome. All right. Well, it's almost noon, and I did promise you that we would go till noon today, have a little chat about what's going on in the world. As always, guys, be sure that you reach out to my team at help@birddog.tv if you've got any sort of, you know, any sort of issue that, and I'm not online, if I'm not doing the show, feel free to reach out to us at help@birddog.tv. And I've got usually 3 agents that are there. One of them is in Orlando this week. But yeah, usually I've got 3 agents that are answering tickets, and we try and get back to you guys as quick as we can with actual answers, not just textbook answers. That's part of the reason why people hate support departments, is because they're full of people who are reading the answers from a cheat sheet but don't actually know the problem or know the product. And yeah, we have found that dealing with the diversity that people use our fleet in requires more than just a cheat sheet. Some answers can be done that way, but a lot of them, especially the complex ones, you don't get answered. But it's never the same problem multiple times. It's usually similar problems but different setups, and usually it results in varying results and everything. So it's why we have 3 people dedicated to answering tickets, truthfully. But it's not on the map. What's not on the map? There's a very, very small difference between social media. YouTube appears slightly more contrasted, but Facebook slightly sharper. I think it's related to the compression codexes for each media. Ooh, there you go. Thanks, John. I appreciate your time. My pleasure. Always happy to sit and chat. So be sure that you check in. And thanks to everybody who is subscribed to the BirdDogJohn.tv channel. So we're well over 300 subscribers now, which is big for me. Who knew that there were that many people that wanted to talk about BirdDog and NDI and support, and that would tune into a actual show that's reoccurring. So really neat. I'm going to jump over to that channel, and yeah, 308. That's up 1 from yesterday. So really neat that you guys are doing that. Thank you for joining us over at BirdDogJohn.tv. That is everything I do here in the support desk, is done on that channel, as well as other places. So that's a good place to follow along if you'd like. And always happy to have more new people hang out with us. All right, sorry, I was in the chat and then I scooted away. So thanks. Hello. Will we have news at IBC 23? I don't know. I don't think I'm going to IBC. They tried to get me there. I think Phil had tried to get me over there, BirdDog Phil, but I have not been told that I'm traveling, and that's next week. When is that? Let's go and find out. So there's a trade show over in Amsterdam called IBC, and show.ibc.org, and IBC 2023. It's kind of a cool little website, but exhibitors and sponsors. Where is shouldn't it be front and center on your page when the actual thing is happening? Who you'll meet, Innovation Hall. Oh, here, show opens the 15th of September. 15th through the 18th is this year's, and it is in Amsterdam, as I recall. Let's go to visitor information, and let's see what we can find out. So currently, pretty sure BirdDog will be on the floor. Yep, BirdDog. Stand 6.C16. And let's just have another little look here. B. Sort. Do they not link the floor plan? Whoa. The Stream Dudes machine does not like how it doesn't like running Chrome and vMix and everything all at once. So, okay, so we're in Central Hall. Is that what C is? Or is it just hall number 6? It must be just hall 6. Hall 3, hall 4, 5, and 6. There's hall 6. Okay, so let me share this. Oh, how can I share this? Oh, I can put it up here. All right, here we go. So, yoink, and back to vMix. And let's show this. So, BirdDog is, this looks like it's hall 6. And then C, H, A, B, B. How? This is weird. Why is this open? Stop that. Get out of here. I don't like this. Exhibitor floor plan. BirdDog searching. And then it zooms into nothing. Would it not? Shouldn't it not? All right, so we're pretty sure it's hall 6. C16. So if we go really close, these are all 5s. I thought this was hall 6. No? These all say hall 5. So, but hall 6 is here. Oh. vMix. BirdDog. There we are. Wow, that's a teensy hallway. So this is not BirdDog. Hang on. Naughty. What did that say? Okay, BirdDog is here. There. On level 1. Okay, cool. So we're right in here somewhere. That's where you'll find us. Between what looks like between hall 7 and 5 is hall 6. How is that considered a hall? Maybe I have no context as to how that work, like how the floor plan is laid out. I've never been to this show. I have no context as to how it even looks or is laid out or anything, but interesting. Not too sure if there will be any news at IBC. I haven't heard, but they don't normally, like the sales team doesn't like go out of their way to make sure that I know of everything that's happening at IBC. So, especially because I'm not going. So, maybe. We saw that smile before the presentation of the X120. Yeah. Same smile. I don't. From what I can see in the projects, and of course I can't really talk about what's in there, but it is extremely close, and so it wouldn't surprise me that they're pushing it to try and have it done. But I don't know. I don't know if that's the plan. I don't know what they're planning on talking about. Like I said, I haven't been briefed on that, so I can't I can't honestly tell you what they're planning on talking about or reviewing or revising expectations or what, because I don't know. So, all in good time. Only time will tell, and that's only 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away, the 15th to the 18th. So, unless they plan to buy me a last-minute plane ticket, but I don't think so because they're taking BirdDog Jake again this year. So, that I think is going to be the U.S. rep. But let's just take a look and see what flights would cost from Detroit to Amsterdam. Amsterdam. Departure. So like what, the 13th, maybe the 12th for setup? Let's go, let's say 12th, and then take down, so I'd be out on like the 20th or the 19th. Search flights from Detroit to Amsterdam. Oh, there's non-stops? Ooh. Is there not a morning flight? Airlines, turn off all airlines and then just add. So yeah, they all leave in the evening. Okay, so, and then they all leave in the morning. It's a 9-hour flight. Oof. Good golly. Coming back, it's 9 hours. Going there, it's 8 hours. Wowzers. Anyway, round trip, it's about $1,200 from Detroit. Jeez. Yeah, crazy. Well, yeah, I don't know what to say about the trip to Amsterdam, other than I hope that they have a great show. I think it'd be really cool. Um, I should try and connect with those guys while they're over there and see if they could remote in or do something like that. That'd be fun. All right. I have a ton of stuff on my plate that needs to get done. And so I'm going to cut this show short. We're just after 12 o'clock. We've got our hour in. And I really appreciate you guys hanging out in the chat with me and having a little talk. Nothing specific here to cover today. Maybe try and think of something for Thursday. But the plan is to be back to do live support for you from 11 to at least 12 o'clock on Thursday, every Tuesday, Thursday, here in the Eastern Time Zone in Michigan. And so be sure to join us if you can. Be always fun to hang out and see what you guys are up to. If you've got any NDI questions and you don't want to submit a ticket, I am live here for an hour twice a week. So feel free to come by and hang out with me here. But hopefully you're doing well. Let's take one more look at the map while we're at it. And we got a handful of people checking in today, so always appreciate that. Thank you for all of you who have come by. Who is this? Madrid. That's cool. Oh, really neat. So, yeah, thanks for playing along. Always fun to do that together and see where people are watching the show from. And, of course, by all means, reach out to us at help@birddog.tv if you've got questions or you've got stuff that you need to cover. We're happy to walk you through processes, or if things are not working right, we try and be accessible as best we can. I've got a small team, okay? I've got 3 people that work on support tickets, for 8 hours a day. So I've got a small team that's trying to make that happen for a global market. All right, we're not U.S. only. We're not Europe only. We're not Australia only. We handle all requests coming in. And shocker, everywhere around the world likes to do support a little bit differently. And so we try and do the things that are, for the major market requests. And we try and be available, but do those jobs extremely efficiently. So it means that we don't do other things, but it does mean that we can offer a couple of items. This show is one of them that I can consistently do over and over and over. And it opens up the opportunity for you to ask your NDI questions here live and get live feedback. So I read, if you've been watching the show today, I've been reading through the comments from conversations. And what's also interesting is on this show, we had Senseless, who's the head of ticketing, basically. He jumped in to answer a few questions. So really cool that we can offer that level of tangible support and have you guys hanging around with us. So feel free to join, subscribe to birddogjohn.tv if you want to jump on the show. If you have NDI questions that come up but you don't want to submit a ticket, stop by the show at 11 to 12 Eastern Time here and ask those questions. We'll give you live feedback as promised. That's one of the benefits of this show. And if not, if you just need to send off something and wait for a response, you can do that at help@birddog.tv. So my team is excellent. We can work with you. If you got a repair or something like that needs to happen, we can figure out what we can do. So be sure to reach out to them there. It's a single point. It's super efficient for us to manage a global market that way. And that way you can navigate the support situation that you have and we can get to some sort of resolution. So feel free to join us there or here twice a week, Tuesday, Thursdays. And yeah, we can try and give you a hand. Otherwise, take care of yourselves out there. It's been fun to chat with you guys today. Be sure that you take care of yourselves, though, and look after those around you. That's super important. And we'll see you back here on Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time, right here at birddogjohn.tv. Don't be a stranger. Reach out to us here, and we can hang out with you again on that day later this week. Be well. Have a great week, and we'll see you close to the end. Take care, guys. Bye.
Excellent.